Good evening to you. I just made a YouTube video a little bit ago, and then when I went to upload it, it would not upload because I exceeded the time limit. So I realize now I have two YouTube accounts, and one is for 15 minutes max, and this one can go beyond that. So, but hopefully the second time through, I will keep this at just 15 minutes, which would be sufficient. And sometimes when you do something the second time through, it actually gets better. I'd like to talk to you a little bit this week about technology, technical writing, and so on as a consumer, as a professional, and in lots of other ways as far as just related to your job overall. Um, I wanted to tell you though, share an interesting example with you that we did in the in class technical communication. We actually went over to the nursing simulation lab, and if you're at WCCC and you're in Commissioner's Hall where culinary arts is, and then of course nursing and allied health. Um, Back where the nursing and allied health division is, I think they're in 2201, but right next door to them is 2203 is the nursing simulation lab. If you're ever back there, walk by it and you will find it to be most interesting. But what they do is the student nurses, but also paramedics, police officers, all sorts of people, LPNs and so on that need to do training, or RNs that need additional training. They come to the college and they use these simulation. Um, they look like they're human looking, but they have younger people like teenagers, and then they have adults. They have senior citizens. They have like premature infants. They have infants, and then they have toddlers. But it's really interesting because when you go over, I mean, they can program them. They use laptops, and they have these nursing simulation faculty, but they can program them to, have a heart attack, have a stroke, have pneumonia, tuberculosis. I mean, you name it, they can do it. And even like with the bowel sounds or and so on, they can do that, and then they can make it have different sounds, different sounding sounds, or they can do even an irregular heartbeat. And it's really, really good practice to do overall. But with the in-class technical communication class, we go over and do an assignment where I have like Carrie Shedlock, she's one of the nursing lab simulation faculty, and then Ruth Irwin, who's the director of nursing. Sometimes Kathy Malloy, Dr. Kathy Malloy, the dean of nursing, participates, but we usually have one of the secretaries over there, often Sandy Hahn, who does it. And one of them plays the role of the nurse. One of them runs the computer equipment to simulate the scenario, and of course, one plays the patient's mother because it's a young man who's been diagnosed with juvenile diabetes, type 1 diabetes mellitus is what they say. And so what they do is, in the first scenario, they present it using layman's terms. So they said you have high blood sugar, and you have to be careful to keep your sugar under control, and you need to watch the foods that you eat. And so they go through all those types of things. The second time through, though, they go through with it. They use a term like sliding scale coverage. They use hyperglycemia, subcutaneous injections, diaphoresis for sweating. Um, they have electrolytes. It goes on. It gets, like I said, the sliding scale coverage. That's one of the topics that they kind of get into. But they want students to become familiar with technology, and also understand that even though you may not work as a rad tech, as a respiratory therapist, as a physical therapy assistant, or registered nurse or whatnot, you may have to support the allied health nursing type of field. And so, like for example, with those simulation types of mannequins that they have over there, they have electronic technicians to set them up. They have software technicians to program them. They have laptops, and so of course those have to be used with IT people. They also have students, they have to use portable portable devices. So our IT department has to sync with the company, to make sure that we're okay with it. And even, like at larger hospitals, or any hospital for that matter these days, you have a computer network to maintain, and you have computers, you have PCs, you have laptops, you have tablets, you have smartphones, you have all sorts of different printers and devices, and I mean it's pretty complicated, and so people need to support all that. So that's something that is definitely done. So even though you may not work in healthcare directly, you may support it. And what's interesting as well is lots of these bigger companies related, healthcare related, such as Merck and Pfizer, their drug reps will call on physicians and try to sell them their drugs, new high blood pressure drugs. Of course, like drugs like Nexagon that have been on the market for a while, why it's better than Prilosec, Prevacid, Tagamet, and all those kind of drugs. So that's what they have to do. And there's a local company, Quest Diagnostics, and they do all sorts of diagnostic testing. Their big thing now from Quest is they want doctors to, especially general practitioners, to every patient that comes in, if they come in once a year, they want them to do a urine test to see what types of supplements they're taking, what types of prescription, and even illegal drugs. But I mean, even OxyContin, oxycodone, some doctors don't know that their patients are in fact taking those. So that's a big push that they have for Quest. But if you really think about it, they talk to a wide variety of people. Quest, like office managers, RNs, the doctors, sometimes the financial people. So it's a pretty complicated job. And something else that's really interesting is, if you have to get a shoulder, like a rotator cuff, like that joint put into your shoulder, they actually have sales reps that go into the OR and instruct the surgeon as far as how to insert it, and what to do, and make sure that they get the right angle and so on. So that's something that they definitely do, and that's really interesting. But I know some people in our class are in chemistry, so at different times you might have to explain something to chemists, or physicians, or you might be focusing on a more general audience, and so that's good to be able to shift up or shift down. If you notice in our book, they say in technical communication, sometimes within a within a document you're doing, or within a presentation, you might be presenting different parts of it to different people, in a lower or a higher way. So, for example, and this is a good example, if you were a petroleum or natural gas engineer for Range Resources, and you have to go talk to potential customers or consumers, as far as that you want to do Marcellus shale drilling or natural gas drilling on their property, that's a different group. If you're dealing with other petroleum or natural gas engineers, then that's another group. Regulators from the state and federal government, local municipality people. It's pretty complicated, but that's really a big part of what you have to, do these days. And so, you have to be able to be conversant with technology. And so I would really stress that to you. The other point that I would tell you that's very important is, as you get further along up the path, as far as if you go into management or supervisor or lead technician or whatnot, you have to do more. And the IT director at WCCC, Pat McCullough, he comes to my in-class technical communication class and talks, but he makes some really, really good points. We went a couple years ago, we switched from Campus Connections, which was a for-profit company that, we would use their portal. It cost us $100,000 a year. And so Pat said to the president, we really need to switch, because we had to log in each time for email, for Blackboard, if you want to use Datatel, if you wanted to do advising, if you wanted to get class rosters. Now it's single sign-on. It's much, much easier. We also have about 20 times the capacity for email, and so it's much, much better. But Pat had to do an initial presentation for the president and the president's council, and then he had to talk to technology council and say, hey, this is what we're going to do. And then once they said, okay, we're going to show this to the board, and once they said, okay, go ahead, you have to do, the IT director has to write a request for proposal and tell, companies what, that will offer, like, servers or equipment and software and so on. This is what we want. This is what we need. We need your background. We need to make sure you have enough insurance and all that. So that's done. And then, you have to present it once it's approved. You have to get this stuff into place. You have to work with the other IT people. You have to present it to faculty, employees. It's really pretty complicated. But, that's something that I really wanted to mention. But what I'm trying to tell you is you have to be able to shift gears pretty well and be conversant with technology. The one other item that I wanted to mention to you is my in-class course. This coming week, I'm going to have students look at 3 different types of over-the-counter drugs. And so, for example, now I feel really great. Earlier in the semester, I felt so terrible I could hardly move. On January 2nd, I couldn't even get out of bed. I had the flu terribly. I had to take Tamiflu on 2 different doses. Unfortunately, it got rid of that flu. I was very concerned that I was getting pneumonia. I had severe pains in my right side when I coughed. I was like, boy, this is not good. But anyhow, I also use 3 different types of over-the-counter medications. Alka-Seltzer, which has like aspirin, and it has an antihistamine and all sorts of other ingredients, and then of course like Tylenol Cold and Flu Extreme. I used that, and that was pretty strong. And that has acetaminophen in it, and has a decongestant. It might have Sudafed. I don't even know what all it has, but it's pretty potent. My son really likes that. And then finally, this last week, I didn't really want to go back to the doctor and get another dose of Tamiflu because I really only had a cold. So I told my wife, I said, go to Sam's Club and get us some Airborne. And it's like in this tube, you can get 2 tubes of 18, and you put it in water. It tastes like lime. But I'll tell you what, that stuff works. But it's vitamin A, vitamin C, zinc, magnesium, herbs, and so on. But it works. A teacher found it, and I feel really great, and so does she. So it's not just the placebo effect. I think it really does work. Now, just the other thing that I wanted to mention to you, as I said, Tylenol has acetaminophen, okay? But if you drink, if you take it excessively, it can harm your liver. And then, of course, there's like Aleve, and that's another type of over-the-counter medication. If you want to find out more of this, go to WebMD, and they explain in a 3-page overview the different types of, different elements of these different types of over-the-counter medications. And then even Excedrin has acetaminophen, it has aspirin, it has caffeine, which is interesting. But they also have Excedrin Plus, Excedrin migraine, they have Excedrin for menstrual cranes, arthritis, Excedrin PM if you can't sleep. So there's all different types of Excedrins that are available. And then, like I said, ibuprofen, Aleve, and it's really, really interesting what these over-the-counter drugs have in them, and how some of them work real well for different types of things. When I have a really bad headache, I take Aleve, and my wife Vicki, she actually chipped her 2 front teeth when she fell in January, and she's been taking Aleve, and you only have to take 2 tablets for 8 hours, and it works really, really well. So, as a consumer, as a professional, whatever roles you're in, you are going to have to be able to use technical communication in different ways. But I made this video the first time, and like I said, it really came out well. But the second time through, I think I hit some good points as well. But I just wanted to stress to you that this class has a great deal of practical applications to it. And I really can't stress that enough, and so it'll help you as you go along down the path. Okay, I'm at 15 minutes. I'm going to stop so this video goes through. Thanks.